Hello all, welcome back to our course on digital accessibility, and today we will have a discussion, deeper discussion about elderly users and the accessibility issues that they face. So, elderly users accessibility issues are multifaceted. They stem from age related decline in physical motor skills, dexterity, etc., sensory declination like vision loss or decline in vision, decline in hearing, as well as cognitive abilities such as hindrances in understanding long workflows, hindrances in attention deficits, hindrances related to concentration for longer durations, etc., as well as there may be memory related issues as well, with which kind of decline with age as well. So, we will have a deeper discussion in today's session about all of these difficulties and how in our accessibility attempt we can try to be inclusive for these special users. So, these aspects of physical, sensory and cognitive decline can create significant barriers in their physical environment, which relates to public spaces, transportation, housing, etc., navigation, all of those things, independent navigation particularly, as well as digital interactions, which includes their web visits or mobile apps or using home appliances which may have digital interfaces such as a microwave or a washing machine which is automated, etc. So, which may require some buttons, may have small text and logos, icons, all of those things. So, let us begin from that perspective. So, first of all, let us ask the question why we should accommodate older users. So, one is of course the ethical as well as the responsibility aspect of it, that better accessibility for older people is also better for all of us from an inclusion perspective. Other than that, estimates now show that over 60 population will double over the next few decades to 2 billion and triple to over 3 billion by 2100, right, in the next 70 years or so. So, that means we are looking at a projection or a world where the number of elderly people is going to increase. It has already begun in a lot of European as well as Japanese and all of these other economies. The number of young population, the percentage of young population in their demographic has become considerably lower than aging demographic. So, it is already there, and first right now Indian economy and Indian demographic is not suffering from that mismatched ratio, but of course we also have a big number, big percentage of elderly users who are also potential consumers, right. So, it is also good for our business perspective, and we should not chuck them out of the use cases altogether, because there are a lot of products which cater particularly to persons who are elderly, such as pension related websites, or there may be travel websites which are particularly catering to elderly users. There are a lot of apps which are talking about healthcare and accessibility in general, right to access to information as well as spaces. All of these aspects are also present in case of people who are above 60. This is the fastest growing demographic globally, and it is not possible to ignore it any further, and its members rely more on ICT products, because to some extent the social aspect or physical navigation becomes even more reluctant or hindered by the time you cross that 60 demographic. So, plus they also have a significant buying power, which is also very crucial to think about this demographic, because I mean they have the money to buy assistive technologies if they have the awareness to do so, and that is a significant aspect when it comes to any product or any technology development or any economic intervention for that matter in existing technologies. So, everyone, all companies and all managers will always ask you, okay, what is the uptake here, what is the benefit that we get if we make our application or website accessible for this particular group of people. So, I think that it is a well known statistical fact that demographic above in the elderly category, in the geriatric category, have way more buying power, because they have worked so many years, they have accumulated some wealth and they have that buying power, and also it is the fastest growing demographic. So, these are two very important aspects about why we should accommodate persons who are elderly in our accessibility discussion itself. So, today it's till today it has never been more critical to improve accessibility for older users, but now maybe it is more than ever important to do so. So, then let us talk about the economic or the business aspect of catering to older users. One is, of course, which we discussed in the previous slide, is that they have a higher buying power. So, there are some statistics from the US, because it was there in one of the reports, which was a census report. Probably we will be able to share some more recent data when our Indian census also gets published in the next year. The current data is from 2011, which is quite old. So, next year we will have the recent demographic data. So, probably we will update you regarding that. Currently, these statements are talking about the US economy. So, consider this: older adults account for over 50%, and this is a very important number, 50% of US consumer spending. But just 5 to 10% of marketing budgets focus on winning their businesses, right. So, there is a huge market gap which one can look at if you are an entrepreneur, if you are an innovator, if you have products which are consumer facing products, which are ICT consumer facing products. This is a demographic probably you are missing out on. You can expand into it, or look at the problems pertaining to elderly users and maybe address that. So, that is there. Younger demographic may be among the most followed social influencers, but their older counterparts have an edge on the financial and the economic influence. This is also very important. Most government projects in the US, so AARP is an organization from the government. So, they are now putting massive spending for 50 plus consumers. There is over almost a 200% growth in financial and insurance services. There is almost 3 times growth in the tech sector. There is a lot of, there is almost double surcharge in travel and surge in travel and leisure. There is more than 260% increase in the healthcare sector, and it is evident that Gen Z or the younger adults have 86%, and this is a very important statistic, very less purchasing power than baby boomers did in their 20s. So, also this is important that today with the not so much flourishing economy, and of course the inflation, the purchasing power of younger adults is comparatively lesser than people who are now in their 70s or 60s had in their 20s, which was more economically flourishing times for the US economy particularly, which was the 60s and the 70s. So, let us now, so this kind of puts into perspective why we should look at geriatric users, older adults, as a separate and important demographic whenever we are talking about inclusion and accessibility, particularly for ICT, in information and communication technologies, be it website oriented interfaces, be it apps that you are developing, or you are looking for some new potential gaps or problems where existing solutions are not able to help. This this demographic can offer a lot of gaps as well, and a lot of economic opportunity to function and expand your business and ideas into. So, now let us talk about the different kinds of barriers which are experienced by older adults in their interaction with the environment. So, now let us talk about the different kinds of barriers that people with older adults or people who are elderly face when they are interacting with their environment on a daily basis. So, let us start with some physical and architectural barriers. Though they are not directly in alignment with our focus of digital accessibility, but it is important to discuss these issues because many a times there may be some possible gaps which can be filled by an ICT technology, right. So, you can see it as an opportunity as well. Mobility limitations. So, of course, difficulty with stairs, high curbs, slippery floors, narrow doorways make navigation challenging both in public spaces as well as in their own homes. Then there can be transportation access related barriers, which includes suitable equipment to board buses at bus stops, difficulty in boarding or coming down from buses or alighting public transport like trains, buses or any other form of transport, and a lack of reliable, affordable transport option, particularly in rural areas. So, public infrastructure may be lacking in serving the special issues related to people who are elderly. So, many public buildings and health facilities lack essential age friendly features such as handrails or sufficient benches or seating, proper lighting, accessible restrooms, all of those may be not there. In their home environment itself, there may be some common challenges like difficulties with transferring in and out of bathrooms or showers, or bed, coming out of bed or lying down on the bed without help, reaching to high storage areas in the household, managing home maintenance activities like gardening or cleaning, etc., that require physical strength, or bending down, like awkward postures like bending down beneath the bed, etc., which they are not able to do because of other kind of skeletal issues. Then there can be healthcare and service access related issues. So, information gaps particularly. So, for example, older adults often struggle to find information about available community care or how to access them, leading to missed opportunities for support. This can be an important area where ICT innovators can probe you can look at this problem and kind of try to deliver a solution, how to make information related to support systems available to people who are elderly. Affordability, even when care is physically accessible, there may be higher costs or which can be a major barrier. There may be lack of specialized care available in their region, particularly this applies for rural areas where specialty hospitals or specialty geriatric care, specialty wards are not available, or healthcare programs or professionals related to geriatric issues are not available in those areas. So, they have to go to bigger cities or otherwise to get those healthcare attention. Then comes our digital and technological barriers, which is our primary focus of the discussion. You can go through the above mentioned challenges again if you are looking at identifying gaps where ICT technologies or emerging media can help and intervene, but these are the technological barriers which are there in the current technology. So, due to vision impairment, there may be technological barriers and accessibility issues. Physical dexterity, we will talk about each one in detail because this applies directly to our accessibility subheadings of POUR principles, and what are the different resources available to ensure accessibility of digital and technological products. So, vision impairment can result in reduced contrast sensitivity, poor color perception, difficulty with near focus. So, reading length, reading distance, it is very difficult to read at a reading distance, or small text, small fonts they are unable to read because of near focus issues. Low contrast designs may cause accessibility issues because of lower contrast sensitivity or other vision related aspects like cataract, I am sure you might have heard, or astigmatism. Which is like tunnel focus. So, those. Then there can be or tiny targets on websites, etc., and apps that make it hard to use the apps themselves. Then there can be physical dexterity related issues. So, diminished fine motor control can make using a mouse or clicking small buttons or typing accurately on touch screens very difficult. Hearing loss, so this is also commonly occurring capacity loss in persons who are aging, and difficulty in hearing high pitched sounds is something which also happens. Separating speech from background, etc., to understand audio feedback or audio content, it becomes a little bit difficult. Cognitive decline, there may be reduced short term memory, there may be difficulty in concentrating, there may be difficulty in maintaining concentration for longer durations through multi-step processes. And non-intuitive interfaces may cause problems to use. There may be lack of information, significant barriers, often lack of awareness about existing technologies. So, if we try to understand these barriers through a lens of POUR, our accessibility, digital accessibility principles, we can see it through that lens as well. And if we talk about perceivability issues, then as we talked about the vision impairment related issues. So, reduced contrast, it is a very well known WCAG guideline, and I think we should try to adapt to it. And there may be poor color perception, there may be difficulty with near focus elements which have small fonts, etc., low contrast designs, tiny targets. So, of course, tiny targets on websites and apps which make it hard to use. Especially you might have seen with ad pop-ups that the button to switch it off is so small that it is very hard for even people with very good fine motor skills to actually switch them off. If you reduce dexterity, then it becomes even more even a bigger issue, and they are also not to be visible. Right. So, the cross itself is kind of blending into the background kind of a color, or it may be very fine font, it is not a bold font, and that is why it is not differentiable from the background. Then in terms of other perceivability issues, there may be hearing loss, so difficulty in hearing high pitch sound. So, audible range of the pitch reduces with age, and high pitch sounds may be suddenly inaudible. Separating speech from background may also become an issue. So, if there is high background noise, it may be difficult for people who are aging to separate speech and coherently understand the meaning of the audio content if they are not able to separate speech from background. So, interventions in these may be AI based interventions which can help in separating speech from background can be used. Then there can be operability issues. So, when we talk about operability, it should, an accessible ICT product should enable the users to interact with the system in the best way possible. So, but diminished fine motor skills can make it difficult to operate, like using a mouse may be difficult, clicking small buttons may be difficult, typing accurately on touch screens may be difficult, smaller response windows can be problematic. Then there may be other dexterity issues like shaking or reduction in fine motor skills. So, you might have noticed older people have their hand like there is some vibration and shaking of hand, which may also result in hindrances. Then reduction in tactile acuity of fingertips is also one of the aspects. So, the fingertip themselves reduce their acuity because of the skin issues maybe, and the sensors on the fingertips being depreciating, or the nervous system itself being depreciating. So, that results in lesser acuity in the fingertips. So, wherever it is a touch based interaction, probably it may feel like you need to touch with a heavier hand or with more pressure in order to ensure correct touch. So, smaller targets can make it even more difficult to do that. Then there can be understandability related issues which relate to cognitive decline. So, reduced short term memory can hinder access to multi-step workflows, or remembering OTPs remembering what was previously fed in the previous step, cross checking if the feedback is not itself available in the screen itself. Then reduce longer term memory also can impact, so maybe they don't remember passwords, for example. They may face difficulty in concentrating, being easily distracted. So, these can make complex navigation systems, multi-step processes and non-intuitive interfaces problematic to follow and use. Then there can be language barriers also. So, maybe a bigger chunk of the demographic, they do not understand English if most of your products are based on English language. Then apart from these, beyond the accessibility and interaction related barriers is a definite lack of awareness. So, lack of information about significant barriers and about available accessibility and assistive technologies, lack of training how to use available assistive technologies, or support about the same. Then there may be accessibility features on the device which is available to them already, but they still don't know how to use it because of lack of information. And lack of information also many a times we have seen that stems from denial. So, many a times we have seen elderly users do not want to accept that they are in the elderly category and that they are facing issues, and they don't seek help because it may hamper their pride or independence. So, that aspect is also, that emotional and aspirational aspect is also there. So, we have to be as designers, we have to be sensitive about this aspect. So, how can we improve digital accessibility for older users? So, try to implement adjustable text sizes, allow users to adjust sizes so they can read content comfortably without straining their eyes, provide larger fonts to remove inclusivity. Use proper color contrast. This cannot be emphasized more than enough. Color contrast, which is a very basic aspect, very easy to implement in any ICT product, is something which is being neglected the most. And so, providing good contrast between foreground text, icons and the background and all interactive elements against the background. It is very important to make sure that they have a good contrast from the background to make sure that they are readable for older adults, and for best results follow the WCAG requirements. Simplify navigation. So, minimize the required amount of mouse clicks to access desired features. So, even we have seen that this double click feature etc., many a times people fail to use because this double click has to happen very quickly. So, for example, I have seen my mother struggling to open a file, but if I am sure you are aware, right, that double click when it happens quickly in succession opens a file, but double click if it happens after a bit of a gap, it makes you rename the file, right. So I have seen my mother also struggle with this, that every time she wants to open a file, because the timing between those two consecutive clicks is a little bit more, it every time goes into renaming, doesn't open the file. So, even as basic as this, like we are not even talking about elements or reading and all of those things. Just opening the file, as basic as that, is a challenge. So, it is very important that we should be sensitive to all of the needs of our potential users. Use clearer labels, use user friendly menus to prevent cognitive overload. Try to keep items on one screen, be it your app, be it your web page. Try to keep items as minimal as possible. Make sure that the action items are highlighted. Use affordances and the concept of affordances. You refer to the session on affordances in order to avail that information. And of course, we have the WCAG guidelines also to help you in understanding how to make navigation more simple. There's always a trade-off between number of steps and the amount of information which is there in one step in any workflow. So, we have to try to optimize it, and that optimization can happen only with continuous user feedback of the specific demographic as well, if this is an important demographic for your ICT product. Of a touch-friendly design, incorporate larger targets and spacing elements for users with diminished fine motor skills. Enlarging navigation elements with screen magnifiers enable older users to navigate touchscreen devices more comfortably. So, larger navigation elements, bigger spacing, it is all of these aspects are there in WCAG as well. Let us try to follow that. Provide alternative inputs. So, offer alternative input methods such as voice commands or keyboard shortcuts, etc. These options empower people with mobility and dexterity impairments. So, wherever possible, try to incorporate multimodal input and output methods. In one of the following sessions, we will also talk about the variety of input and output devices which can be utilized and which can cater to a variety of users. And what are the specific aspects which one should keep in mind when incorporating those input output devices. So, for example, voice command has become quite popular with persons who are elderly, because typing on the screen, if you want to search something on YouTube, if you are even navigating navigating the menu on your smart TV or something, it is very difficult to kind of go to each letter on that keyboard on the TV. Using your TV remote and click and type something on the TV, right. So, audio control has become very much an accessible option for people who are elderly. They can, and I think everyone uses it rather because it's much easier to do and much offers a higher level of usability and better experience, saves time as well. Then other part is offer enough white space. So, try to avoid clutter, because it can be overwhelming, it can cause distraction from the actual action items. Provide plenty of space between lines and blocks of text. Use hierarchy, use different indentations, use all of those elements to help users track text horizontally, read and comprehend the text more easily if it is annotated properly. add form fields, so fields like heading labels, prompts, etc. Please follow the related best practices to ensure you to get it right. Use text instead of text images. This is again like under the WCAG guidelines. Text images blur when magnified and cause slower download speeds when enlarged. Also, it is better for SEOs to use text with relevant keywords whenever possible. So, your pages will pop up in the search more easily and more effectively. Use proper headings, use headings and subheadings in the outline pages. Do not skip the heading levels because they help the screen reader users, search engines to better understand the page organization. It also visually makes readers to understand the content better if it is layouted and formatted in a very proper manner. Use a JavaScript accessibility widget. Using existing accessibility widgets sometimes streamline productions and ensures better accuracy. On the other hand, an in-house approach is also cost prohibitive, drain on resources. So, you can use existing open source elements to make it more accurate and more productive. What WCAG resources has to offer. So, I have added a link and they have a separate page on older users and web accessibility, meeting the needs of aging web users. You can read through different types of compliance issues, different types of different kinds of needs which we have kind of already discussed, but maybe you can refer to this resource as well. There are more pages and videos which can be read. Other than that, there is a set of guidelines and other standards, particularly for older users. So, developing websites for older people, how web content accessibility guidelines WCAG 2.0 applies. So, this is another resource from WCAG where they are talking about developing how developing websites for older people and how to integrate WCAG guidelines, accessibility guidelines in your development. So, again it is divided into our same POUR setup, and if we go through there, they are written in a slightly different format as compared to WCAG, but they are referring to similar criteria, but they are talking about some of the issues which are more commonly occurring for older users, like text sizes, text style and text layout, color and contrast, multimedia, text to speech, CAPTCHA. So, for example, if we go to text size, so under the guideline 1.4.4, there is resize text, there is a set of techniques which you can use. So, many old people require larger text due to declining vision, including text in the form fields and other controls. Similarly, text style and its visual presentation impacts how easy or difficult it is to read, as we talked about formatting and layouting of the information. So, you can read the visual presentation guideline as well. Line spaces, paragraph spaces. Contrast and color. Contrast and color is again one of the most important aspects. So, there are different WCAG criteria which are there, which talk about contrast and color, and there are different techniques in order to how to fix it. There are also literature references given in this resource, where they are talking about vision decline with aging, user studies of web users with specific disabilities. You can see these statistics and data points. So, if you see spatial frequency contrast sensitivity, there is in 80-year-olds it is much lower. The contrast sensitivity is much higher in 20-year-olds. Similarly, if you want to read about other aspects, you can go through all of these: elderly users, age related literature, these aspects. Then there are guidelines about multimedia, all of the different WCAG guidelines which align to the use of multimedia in your web page and how you can make it accessible for users who are elderly. Similarly, text to speech, CAPTCHA, older peoples with declining eyesight may not be able to discern characters in a CAPTCHA, especially visual CAPTCHA. So, one way of doing it is that you incorporate audio CAPTCHA or other ways of doing it, or there can be other types of CAPTCHA which is with which you can identify yourself as a human. So, yeah. In terms of operability also, there are a set of challenges like links, empty links, and particularly clear and identifiable due to declining vision and cognition. Navigation and location, many older people need navigation to be particularly clear due to declining cognitive abilities. Use of mouse, we had a discussion about it in the slides. You can go through these resources. It talks about all of these aspects in much detail, and all of the criteria here. You can see all of the criteria which are there in WCAG. So, here also you can, if you want to read more about it, you can just click here and it will take you to the WCAG document, which we have already discussed in a couple of previous sessions, to read more about it. And so, in this document they have kind of compiled and summarized it for particularly older users. So, this is a good reference, starting point reference for you if you are particularly designing for users who are old. Sufficient time is something which we also discussed about, to read longer text or complete transactions, or entering OTP, because there is always a clock going. So, you have to make sure that if it involves a 3-step OTP recognition. So, once you receive a message, you open the messaging app, you open the message, you read the number, you remember it, then you come back to this main screen of your app, click again on the bar and then you enter. So, this workflow analysis needs to be done and make sure that there is sufficient time, assuming that there is a lower cognitive ability or a lower vision available, then will the person be able to do it in the required amount of time. Then under the understandability head, page organization and headings and labelings is something which is very important. Language is something which we need to look at. Abbreviation, unusual words, reading level, consistent navigation and labeling, pop-ups and new windows. So, this is a very big issue. But with ad and ad based revenue, it is hard to kind of do away with it, but we can be at least understandable to users who are elderly. So page refresh and updates. Then instruction and input assistance. So it is difficult for some older people to understand the requirements of a form or transactions. So all of these different techniques are also given, how to incorporate these things, what are the different criterias which comply with this, error prevention. They talk about in the robustness, then older equipment. Some older people use older browsers that might not be as capable or fault tolerant as current releases. So your ICT or your app or your website should ensure full compatibility or passing in order to meet the compliance. So I think this is an important resource which you can go through. This page talks about all of the different research and what are the different statistics and published literature around decline of vision, hearing, motor loss, cognitive defects, motor skill diminishment, vision decline. There's a lot of literature here which is mentioned, and it is like compiled for your reference, and why it makes sense to look at this demographic with a particular eye. So to summarize, better accessibility also creates a better experience for all customers regardless of the ability or the background. So embracing digital inclusivity is also to provide distinct business advantages, particularly when we are talking about demographies such as elderly who have a good paying power, but they have their own special needs which need to be catered to. By addressing specific barriers like small text, low contrast, simple navigation, or reliance on fine motor skills, we can create a more inclusive online experience for the senior citizens. And you can actually go and have a look at specific websites. Maybe we can see a specific website such as like the Pension Yojana or the NPS website, or all of those, where the users are primarily elderly users. Are they accessible? Are they following WCAG guidelines, and are they looking at the special needs of the elderly? So that can also be a good case study for students of accessibility themselves. Understanding special needs and motivations can help in creating better products. So, and I have already shared WCAG guidelines and special resources which are particularly catering to elderly use cases. So, that's all in this session. Thank you for sticking around, and we will see you in the next session.